In this episode, I'm going to be sharing with you the 5 marketing strategies that you need to know if you want to survive and even thrive during these challenging times, during the coronavirus or COVID-19 or the pandemic or self-isolation or quarantine or all the other buzzwords that are currently being tossed around. The reality is we're in unprecedented times. We're currently going through a market and an economic situation like nothing we've ever seen before. You add to all of this massive media and massive amounts of information, some good, some not so good, but all of it kind of based in fear, and you've got people running for the hills, which is leaving a lot of businesses struggling. A lot of entrepreneurs really trying to kind of pick up the pieces and trying to figure out what they're going to do today, how they're going to survive tomorrow. Now, there is some good news and some bad news. The bad news being that there are some businesses that are frankly just in a tough bind. They're going to suffer, whether we're talking about the travel industry, whether we're talking about the real estate or mortgage industry. There's some businesses that have simply been shut down for the time being. The good news, however, though, is that there are other businesses, other industries, other markets with great opportunities here. Not opportunities to profit and to take advantage of the situation, because frankly that's just gross, but rather to continue to provide value, to continue to serve their market, and to continue to be a beacon of hope and of light and of leadership during these challenging times. Because the reality is that people are looking for solutions. People are still looking for things to buy and things to help them get through these times and to navigate the challenging waters that we're all in. So you, my friend, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a marketer, you have an obligation and an opportunity to better serve the people that you seek to serve, and that's what this episode is all about. So with all that said, here are the 5 tips that you need to be taking advantage of or leveraging or using in your business right now to create an even greater level of impact and better serve the people that you seek to serve. Number 1, got an opportunity here to create way more content. No, I've said this many times before. Lots of other gurus have said this as well, saying that there's a ton of opportunity out there for those who are willing to rise to the occasion and to create a whole lot more content. The reality is it's very much supply and demand when it comes to social media algorithms, when it comes to all of the content platforms, in that as long as people are willing to be consuming the content and taking it all in, well, that indicates a huge amount of demand. And the supply, despite the fact that there is a ton of people creating content, there's always room for more if you're creating valuable and relevant content specific to the type of audience or specific to the market that you're seeking to serve. Here's the reality. Right now, more than any time in history, people are stuck at home. They're stuck basically with running out of things to do. People are binge watching Netflix. They are consuming all of this media. Most of it is negative, which means that you have an opportunity here to go out there and create some really good content and really just create any kind of content. In fact, I'm willing to lower the bar on what is acceptable content right now just in favor of you getting even more content out there. Again, this is because your customers, your audience, your market is starving for new content. They want to see more stuff. They want to read more stuff. They want to listen to more podcasts. So if you've been on the fence about creating more content or spreading your message or anything like that, well, now, my friend, is the time to do it. Really double down on your content production, content creation, and get it out there to more people who are really rabid and really ravenous for more content. So the more that you can create right now, the better. Not only that, but it is going to have a significantly improved return on investment simply because right now more people are consuming it. So, for example, right now when we're running ads, and we're very much still running ads to targeted markets across all sorts of different businesses, well, what we're seeing is the cost to run those ads is way down. Again, I kind of alluded to this at the beginning when a lot of businesses are just packing up their stuff and running for the hills, which again, it all comes down to supply and demand, which means there is way less supply on the advertising networks, therefore the costs are going to go down, therefore it gives you greater opportunity. Well, the same applies to organic social media, whether we're talking about paid or not. Meaning, again, there's a lot of room for you to create a ton of content because people want it. The algorithms are going to help make sure that it gets in front of even more people. So now is the time. All right, next tip that I want to share with you is all about thinking time. This is probably one of the most valuable skills that you could possibly ever have as a marketer or an entrepreneur or a business person, even as an employee, to be honest, because what this involves is exactly what it sounds like, and it's just spending time thinking. Sounds boring, it's kind of boring, but the reality is it is incredibly valuable. So my challenge to you is to get out a blank piece of paper, get a pen or a pencil, even a Word doc on the computer, though there's something really valuable about that tactile experience of pen and paper, and essentially start thinking, start strategizing, and start asking yourself questions that you really want to find solutions to, like, what opportunities currently exist in the market that we can help and serve and take advantage of? Really want to be clear about my language of take advantage of, because what I mean here is simply to leverage that opportunity. We're not talking about taking advantage of people. That should hopefully be obvious. But regardless, it needs to be said. So, what opportunities are available for me to leverage? Where are there gaps in the market where people are looking for a solution that my business would be uniquely positioned to solve? Where do I want to take my business over the next coming weeks, coming months, maybe even coming years? Because the reality is that we're in these really weird times, and tough for me to say, but things are probably never going to go back fully to normal, right? Like we've kind of crossed this barrier where we're in uncharted waters. Behavior is being changed, new habits are being formed, new precedents are being set for what normal contact is and what work environments look like. So we're going to go back a little bit to how it used to be, but we're never fully going to go back to how it was before this pandemic, before coronavirus, before COVID-19, before the lockdowns and the quarantines and the mass death and destruction that this horrible thing has caused. So you really want to make sure that you're positioning yourself accordingly moving forward. Anyway, thinking time, hugely valuable. I've probably done more thinking time in the last few weeks, few months than I have in pretty much the last year, and it has been incredibly valuable. It's really led to some interesting breakthroughs and interesting developments. I talked about before in a previous video that I've spent more time on my clients' businesses, looking through their problems and their opportunities and trying to find better solutions for them. It's directed the direction of my content and the things that are worth talking about now, as well as for things that we may want to be talking about in the future. Also giving me more opportunity to connect with my team and also with my family and friends and my colleagues and other members of masterminds to really try to figure out where they believe all of this is going. So regardless, hugely valuable skill. All right, the next strategy that you want to do is really strip down your marketing to the bare bones and make sure that you're focusing on the right thing and you're giving the right metric the appropriate respect that it deserves, which I appreciate sounds totally confusing. So let me break it down right here. Essentially, the reason that a lot of people complain that marketing doesn't work or this strategy didn't work or that tactic didn't work, well, it's really just because they were using the wrong tool for the job, or they were giving something more value or more weight than it really deserved. So what I want to do here is really make sure that you understand the value of each kind of metric that your marketing could be achieving for you. The very first thing, and this is where most people start and most people go so wrong, the very first and kind of lowest common denominator value of marketing is all about impressions. Now, the marketing metric for this is CPM, which is cost per mil. Essentially, how much does it cost you to reach 1,000 people? This is great, and it's an important metric, and it's important to understand and to take into consideration, but it is, again, the lowest common denominator, because rarely should the sole focus of your marketing efforts be simply to reach more people. You really want to make sure you're reaching the right people, you want to make sure that you're driving action, you want to make sure that you're getting sufficient leads and conversations and all that, but we'll talk about that in just a second. Regardless, where people go wrong is they run these massive brand awareness campaigns, they get in front of thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions of people, nobody buys, and then they say, marketing just doesn't work or this strategy didn't work, when the reality is they were just focusing on the wrong metric. So once we've got impressions down, the next thing we want to look at is clicks. This essentially is of the people that saw all of your marketing, how many clicked or took action of some kind. So if we're talking about offline, it could be how many people, I don't know what the offline metric of click would be. I guess it would be turn the page or consume the content or something like that. Regardless, online is quite simple. It's really just a click. That again is the beauty of digital marketing versus offline marketing, is that we can track everything. We are making sure that our marketing is accountable to us. Now, after clicks, we go to leads. Now, leads is after someone clicks and they actually fill something out. Offline, this is a lot easier. This is, of course, someone maybe mailing in a submission or filling out some kind of application. Again, this could be online, even from an offline channel, which is called offline to online. Another story for another day. The point is that online, the next most valuable thing is that lead, getting that name, that email, that phone number, whatever. This is incredibly valuable because it allows you to start that conversation, which is the next most valuable thing. You see, even more valuable than a lead is a conversation. Most high ticket sales, most sales that are going to involve significant dollar values are going to require some kind of conversation, whether it is even an SMS conversation, a messenger conversation, or a good old-fashioned phone call or face-to-face meeting and conversation. So that's the next most valuable thing. And then of course there is the customer or the sale, the acquisition of that final stage of the process. This is where the rubber really meets the road. This is where you get that return on investment or you make the sale. So it's important that when you're stripping down all of your marketing and you're laying it out all across the table, that you're focusing on all of these things and you're making sure to weigh them accordingly. Essentially, making sure that if you're trying to get leads or conversations or sales, you're not focusing on impressions, or making sure that just because you're getting cheap clicks, or in the offline world, I guess, cheap content consumption, or someone to actually read the article, or whatever that would be, making sure that it's actually equating into relevant sales. So the takeaway point for this one is really make sure that your marketing is being accountable. And now more than ever, maybe do a bit of thinking time on this and making sure that you're moving in the right direction for your business. And on that point, well, it'll lead me perfectly to my next point, which is the next strategy that I really want you to do here is to lay the foundation. You see, right now we have this really weird time where we've got more time at home, we've got more time away from kind of traditional or standard business activities, we've got more time to do that thinking, to think strategically, to lay out all our marketing, make sure we're doing the right things for the right people. Well, now is the time that you really want to lay the foundation for your future success. Large portion of this is going to come down to doing the things that I've already shared with you. Creating more content, making sure that you're tracking the right metrics, making sure that you've invested significant thinking time into the right questions and guiding yourself forward. But really, now is the time that you're going to be setting yourself up for success over the coming months, the coming years, and the coming decade. You see, odds are pretty good that we're sliding into a pretty decent economic recession. How long this lasts, I'm not an economist. I don't even want to guess. The reality is that things are going down. That's okay if you're strategically aligned and you're planning for this and you're making sure that you're going to come out the other side in the best way possible. Now, the good news is that there have been many, many massive empires that have been started on the bottom of the recession at sort of that very lowest point in history. And what's interesting is that hindsight being 2020, if you ask someone, oh man, what would you do if you could go back to 2008, 2009, or 1930, right at the bottom of these horrific stock market crashes, what would you do? And everybody always like, oh man, I'd invest, I'd go all in, I'd take everything that I have and I'd invest at the bottom of the market because we know it's going up and I'm going to capitalize on it, make billions, and everything will be fantastic. But they fail to remember, they forget that during those times, fear and scarcity and just panic was at an all-time high. The last thing that a lot of people wanted to do after losing everything, after watching their businesses and their lives get smashed in front of their eyes, is just take whatever they had left and invest it all. That would seem nuts. And that's pretty much what we're going through right now. We're at the bottom. We're watching these staggeringly high levels of unemployment. We're looking at all sorts of different things going on in real estate, whether it's foreclosure or forbearance, where they're just putting off the mortgage for 6 months or a year, which they're still going to be required to pay back, which brings in all sorts of different economic issues. Regardless, we are experiencing all of the fear and all of the panic and all of the chaos that previous generations have faced, as well as this generation even a decade plus ago when it went through 2008, 2009. So the reality is that some people are willing to accept that element of risk. They've set themselves up accordingly. They understand this opportunity for what it is, because all great challenges come with equal or greater opportunities. And that's really what this is, a chance to lay the foundation and to set yourself up for success for when the market inevitably picks back up again. Again, I don't have a crystal ball. I'm not Nostradamus. I have no idea when things are going to get better, but they are going to get better. The only question is, are you going to be in a good position to take advantage of them when they do? And the way to do that is with marketing. It's with building your brand. It's with creating content. It's with establishing rapport. It's with continuing to provide value and continuing to serve your customers and your clients in the best way you possibly can. All right, my next tip is a bit more of a mental one, but it is equally important, and it's all about protecting the mothership. I've said this a number of times before, but you as an entrepreneur, you as a business owner, you as a marketer are only as good as you. And that means you've got to take care of you. The best way that I could possibly describe this in something that I know will ring true is garbage in equals garbage out. And right now, probably unsurprisingly, unless you've built yourself a fortress with a wall and a moat and full of alligators and just keeping all of the garbage out, there's a ton of garbage out there. And while most of it is true and things really aren't that great, it doesn't do you any good to constantly be consuming negative news hour after hour, day after day, week after week now, going into month after month. It's just going to destroy your spirit, destroy your will, destroy your ability to go out there and create good stuff, to keep that positive attitude, to be slightly optimistic, and to really lay that foundation and plan for the future. This is why it's incredibly important to make sure that you're continuing to feed your brain, feed your body, feed everyone around you good information, positive information. Use this time not only for thinking, but also for studying. What's that marketing book or that business book that you wanted to read that you didn't have a chance to before? Now's the time. What's that course that you wanted to take, but again, you previously didn't have the time? Well, now's the time. What are those videos that you wanted to watch, or that network that you wanted to build, or that relationship that you wanted to strike up, or that email you wanted to write, or the campaign you wanted to launch? Again, now's the time. Take in some good information, allow it to percolate and to strategize on it, and then create some really good stuff, which all comes back to laying the foundation for your business and will set you up in the best possible way. Now, if you don't know where to start, probably one of the best places to get a really good strategic understanding of basic marketing principles is to check out the video I have linked up right here on Introduction to Marketing. So make sure to check that out now, and I'll catch you next time on The Marketing Show.